We're starting off with Raw, which kicked off with the announcement that at Survivor Series, Gunther will defend his World Heavyweight Championship against the #1 contender, Damian Priest. In the opening segment, Gunther and Priest exchanged words in the ring as tensions built towards their upcoming match, and Priest acknowledged that the Austrian has been impressive. Priest added, though, that Gunther's vibe has been fading since his loss to Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel, and Gunther took exception to the comment. Before he could respond, though, Ludwig Kaiser charged to the ring, advising Priest to leave the ring now and saying he's not even worthy to share the ring with the Ring General. Gunther tried to take the mic, but Kaiser resisted, stating that he wouldn't let street trash talk to the champion that way, which earned him a right hand from Priest. Kaiser was clotheslined over the ropes, and when Priest turned his attention back to Gunther and removed his jacket, the champion clearly had enough and went to the back with Kaiser. Now Priest and Gunther will have their rematch at Survivor Series, where Priest looks to avenge his loss that saw him pass out to Gunther's sleeper hold at SummerSlam. This was a great segment that played on the previous promo segments between champion and challenger, but this time it was the typically brash champion who was doubting himself. Gunther's loss to Cody Rhodes has clearly affected him, in contrast to Priest being more confident than ever despite losing the title to Gunther in August. This established the story of the Survivor Series title match and set up Priest vs. Kaiser later in the show, and it was also a telling moment between Gunther and his ally Ludwig Kaiser. For the second week in a row, tension has been teased as Gunther stopped Kaiser from trash-talking, leaving fans speculating about cracks in Gunther's alliance. What do you think of Gunther vs. Priest 2 now set for Survivor Series? Could we be seeing the beginning of a rift between Gunther and Kaiser? Let us know in the comments below. Back in the ring, Priest and Kaiser delivered a decent match that saw the #1 contender overcome his opponent's attack and put him down with South of Heaven for the pinfall victory. Another quality showing from Priest, who is a bona fide top guy in WWE, and Kaiser, who might be the most underrated wrestler on the roster right now. Bronson Reed has been the focus of recent episodes of the show and has been flattening opponents with his offense and dreaded tsunami finisher. Seth Rollins has run afoul of Reed several times, and while it was the Visionary who got the win at Crown Jewel, the two are not done after last week's attack. This week, Reed complimented Rollins for being a huge WWE star and gave him props for the win at Crown Jewel before vowing to take out Rollins and put him down for good. Reed called out Rollins to the ring, and Seth wasted no time in making his way out, starting a brawl which saw Reed knock Rollins down and then attack him at ringside. Rollins fought back and got the advantage before ripping apart the table, but things quickly devolved and both stars were left brawling as security rushed in to separate them. Despite their best attempts, they could not keep them apart, forcing Adam Pearce to rush in and separate them with even more security, while Pearce had to drag Rollins away while security dealt with Reed. The Raw GM was furious, as was Rollins, who backstage shouted at Pearce and demanded a match with Reed from Pearce, who said he'd had enough. Now the pair are going to face each other, and after Reed has sent Rollins to the hospital multiple times with his attacks, as this feud continues to only get more and more brutal. This was another fun segment between the two, but not what WWE had originally planned in this latest development of this angle. Sources close to Sportskeeda told the outlet that originally Rollins was supposed to interrupt Reed and deliver a short promo on the Australian star. Instead, Reed invited Rollins out and Seth didn't cut a promo but went straight into the brawl, and at this time, there's no word on why this change was made. Sami Zayn met the Usos backstage on Raw and said he had somebody in mind for the 5th member of their Wargames team to face the new Bloodline at Survivor Series. This confirmed that it will be a 5-on-5 match and not 4 versus 4, and Sami then approached Seth Rollins, a former friend and longtime rival of Roman Reigns. Rollins was coming off a heated segment with Bronson Reed and then Adam Pearce, who granted him a rematch, but Seth was quick to decline Sami Zayn's offer. Rollins made it perfectly clear that he had no interest in reuniting with the OTC and spoke about pouring everything he had into WrestleMania 40 to end his reign of tyranny. Shortly after, Solo Sikoa approached Seth Rollins to join his team after Sami Zayn failed to convince him to join the OG Bloodline. Rollins insulted Solo by telling him he didn't want to team with Roman Reigns, nor did he want to team with a wannabe Roman Reigns. Now, given the brawl that took place between Reed and Rollins, Adam Pearce made their rematch official for the November 18th Raw, which was actually taped in advance this week. This was to allow the roster to have more time off during Thanksgiving week to spend time with family and loved ones, and if you don't want to be spoiled, skip the next 30 seconds of this video. During next week's Raw, Reed will defeat Rollins thanks to interference from Solo Sikoa, who in a photo obtained by Ringside News can be seen in the ring with the Australian. After the match, it appeared that Rollins was about to be the latest victim of a beatdown by Solo's Bloodline, but Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn made the save. This certainly hinted at a potential alliance, and with Solo helping out Rollins' nemesis after he rejected Sami Zayn's offer, it seems that the Bloodline has found its final member for Wargames. Did you think Bronson Reed would be the Bloodline's 5th member? Will it lead to Seth reconsidering his stance and decide to join the OG Bloodline? Let us know your thoughts below. Raw saw The Miz released by the Wyatt Six, only to be confronted by Karrion Kross and the Final Testament, who weren't going to give the leave of absence the A-lister wanted. Instead, Kross threatened to break Miz's legs and had Akam and Razor drag Miz to the ring, while Kross demanded to know where the Wyatts were. He got his answer in short order as the Wyatt Six appeared, but The Miz attacked Eric Rowan with a steel chair, which earned a laugh from Uncle Howdy before a brawl ensued. The heels laid out the enigmatic baby faces and Kross embraced Miz, but the heels still looked on with a sense of fear as a beaten down Howdy laughed maniacally to close the segment. This was an interesting development as Miz and Karrion Kross worked together to sucker in the Wyatt Six, only to find out that Howdy was unsurprised and even overjoyed by the revelation. What that means for the heels remains to be seen, but it would be great if we got something from Howdy explaining how and why he knew to expect a betrayal that came from The Miz. As for Kross, he's been great over the last 6 months, and it's great to see him get an opportunity in a major storyline, given that his WWE return from 2022 had been something of a dud. As usual though, the MVP of this whole thing is The Miz, and we have to wonder if there's anyone better at making the most of things, as he's been fantastic in an angle far from his usual work. In her first match after 3 months away, Dakota Kai teamed with Io Sky and Kairi Sane as Damage Control brought the fight to the Pure Fusion Collective. Kai had required surgery after a knee injury in August and was written off TV at the hands of the group and was initially suspected to be out of action for 8 to 10 weeks. The heels spent the majority of the match working over Sane, only for the Pirate Princess to create separation, break out from their grasp, and make the tag to Kai. A passionate comeback saw Sky hit the over-the-moonsault and continue to build momentum ahead of her women's world title match with Liv Morgan, earned on last week's Raw. A good, energetic tag match that saw the right team go over and build momentum for a championship bout that will likely take place at the next Premium Live event. The women's tag team titles were on the line, but not even the interference of Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton could stop Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill from retaining their gold. The champs defended against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez in Monday's main event in a short match that saw the champs benefit from a well-timed save by Naomi. After the match, a brawl between the women ensued, with Io Sky rushing to the aid of the babyfaces, and it was the tag champions, Sky and Naomi, who stood tall to close out the show. This angle was followed up on during the taping for the November 18th Raw, and if you don't want to be spoiled, skip the next 45 seconds of the video. At the tapings, a multi-woman in-ring segment took place featuring the aforementioned women, and just as things were getting heated up, the fans were rocked by a stunning return. Rhea Ripley made her return wearing a new face mask and marched to the ring shouting "Wargames" and went straight after Liv Morgan, triggering another massive brawl. This brawl saw the faces dominate Liv, Raquel, Tiffany, and Nia Jax according to one source, leaving fans excited at the prospect of more of this action down the line. With Ripley back in the mix and hinting at a women's War Games match for Survivor Series, things are surely going to heat up as WWE inches closer to its next Premium Live event. Do you think this potential War Games match will be made official for Survivor Series? If so, who will be the 5th member for Morgan, Jax, Stratton, and Rodriguez? Give your picks below. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair have proven to be a force to be reckoned with since aligning earlier this year, but recently some startling claims were made about the two. Despite being a beloved team, there are rumors that the women's tag team champions are far from being friends in real life, and now Jonathan Coachman has weighed in on these claims. On his Coach and Bro show, Coachman claimed that he'd heard that Belair doesn't like Cargill as she sees teaming with Jade as a step back from where she's been. He explained, "I've also heard that Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair do not get along at all. It's from reliable sources. They don't get along. Now you got two spectacular looking women in Bianca and Jade. You can't look any better than they do, but Bianca's already been in the main event, so you're asking her to give somebody the rub. Of course she's gonna be pissed off. She makes her own gear and Jade doesn't make her own gear. Do you see how that could lead to something?" Of course, these claims are just claims at this time and should be taken with a hefty pinch of salt, as neither Cargill nor Belair have said anything about these alleged issues. Do you think Belair and Cargill actually don't like each other, or are these rumors just tall tales being spread online? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Tensions arose again on Raw between Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, as despite the two stars having been teammates for a decade, they seem to no longer be on the same page. Kingston took on Pete Dunne this week following a backstage segment on the show, and the Bruiserweight took down Kofi with an impactful springboard forearm splash. Kingston hit a dropkick off the turnbuckles and took out Dunne at ringside with a somersault plancha before Dunne locked Kofi in a submission but was nailed with a Meteora. The two traded the advantage, with Kingston hitting a few axe handles and a splash for a 2 count, while Dunne rocked Kofi with an enziguri and caught him with a forearm after he came off the top rope. Kingston hit Pete Dunne with Trouble in Paradise, sending the heel to the floor, and it'd be then when Woods would attack Dunne at ringside, leading to an argument within the New Day. The Bruiserweight capitalized, nailing Kofi with the bitter end and winning the match, and Woods and Kingston argued again after the match and almost fought, teasing the duo's breakup. There was a major development in the Judgment Day this week, as things got heated during a discussion between Finn Balor and Dirty Dominik Mysterio. Balor blamed Dominik for Damian Priest winning last week's #1 Contenders Fatal 4-Way and earning a match with Gunther, but Mysterio fired back, irritated at Balor. Mysterio said that Finn had not been there to help him, and that with Bronson Reed interfering in the match, it had not been his fault that he lost the way he did. Mysterio continued to take shots at Finn, practically turning on him in the process, and said he'd beaten Priest more times than Balor himself. He also spoke about getting close to the World Heavyweight title before saying that Balor had failed himself, and the other faction members stepped in to prevent tensions escalating further. That said, the tension was clearly visible and Mysterio was angry, and could this be the start of another major shift in the Judgment Day? Share your thoughts down below. More from next week's Raw, which featured a much more beloved member of the Mysterio clan, and as always, if you want to avoid spoilers, skip the next 30 seconds of this video. The LWO will do battle with American Made on next week's show in a mixed tag team match, with Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega set to do battle with Chad Gable and Ivy Nile. It'll be Mysterio and Vega who get the latest win in this feud, as the Hall of Famer and former Queen's Crown Tournament winner built some serious momentum at the tapings. On the latest episode of SmackDown, Kevin Owens assaulted Randy Orton once more, and in a stunning moment hit a pile driver, a move banned by WWE, on the Legend Killer. Orton has since been diagnosed with a cervical cord neuropraxia, and while this injury is kayfabe, it's demonstrated just how dangerous the pile driver is presented in WWE. During Busted Open Radio, Mark Henry discussed the situation and said that WWE should implement a fine of $50,000 for talent who use the pile driver. Henry recalled that back when he was young, the DDT was seen as a similarly shocking move, and he doesn't want the pile driver to lose its luster and become a common move like the DDT. The WWE Hall of Famer believes that giving a hefty fine for using the move will keep the pile driver as a serious threat, and also opens avenues for different storytelling ideas. After all, any talent willing to pay $50,000 to use the move will certainly loathe his opponent, and it could give a serious layer of added drama to an angle. The pile driver is banned due to the real risk of neck injuries, like the one Steve Austin suffered at SummerSlam 1997, and we'll have to see if WWE takes Henry's idea on board from now on. Earlier this year, a report by The Wrap made some pretty shocking claims about Dwayne Johnson and his conduct on the set of major Hollywood productions. It was reported that Johnson was often hours late to set and had a tendency to urinate in empty bottles rather than leaving for a bathroom break, and now those claims have been addressed. Speaking to GQ, Johnson acknowledged that he does sometimes arrive late and pee in a bottle while on sets, but denied the degree to which the story claimed he was late. Johnson said that the overall report was bullshit, and several Hollywood colleagues were also contacted, including actors Chris Evans and Emily Blunt and director John Caston. All three came to Johnson's defense, with Evans stating that Johnson's late starts are typically pre-planned, with everyone on set aware of when he is scheduled to arrive. Johnson added that he is an open book when it comes to his actions and behavior while filming, and he believes in taking accountability for the things that he is actually responsible for. Johnson may have unique habits on set, but the claims made by The Wrap were exaggerated according to the actor, and these habits haven't stopped his superstardom in Hollywood. On November 30th, WWE will host its Survivor Series PLE from Vancouver, but they won't be the only wrestling available to watch that day. According to TNT's schedule, fans can catch AEW Collision and Rampage consecutively on Saturday, November 30th, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Rampage is moving from its typical Friday spot to accommodate an NHL game between the Colorado Avalanche and Dallas Stars, and Collision will air from 3 to 6 p.m. Rampage will begin immediately after, meaning that the show will overlap with Survivor Series, as that event will begin at 6 p.m. from Canada. Are you excited for AEW's 3-hour wrestling block, or will you be tuning in to WWE's Survivor Series? Please share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section below. For years, Bruce Prichard has been a fixture of WWE events as executive director, but recently it was reported that the former Brother Love was taking a leave of absence. This naturally left fans speculating on what's happening with Prichard and what his future looks like, but now we have an update on his situation. On the Something to Wrestle podcast, where Prichard is also taking a break, his co-host Conrad Thompson addressed the matter as he said, "I just want to address the elephant in the room. There's been a lot of rumor and innuendo about Bruce Prichard. To clear it up, Bruce Prichard is still with WWE. Bruce Prichard is not quitting his podcast, but if you're a longtime listener of this show, you know that there have been health events in the Prichard family and household, and right now, Bruce is going to take a little bit of a leave of absence from WWE, and he's going to be away taking care of what's really important." For now, WWE Hall of Famer JBL has stepped in as guest co-host for the podcast, and while there's no word on when Prichard will be back, his return will come down the line. In the meantime, though, Prichard is focusing on his family responsibilities, and we are wishing Bruce and his family all the best at this time. More from Raw, as it was announced that Bron Breakker will defend the Intercontinental title next week against Sheamus, as the Celtic Warrior once again hopes to win the one title that's eluded him. It was nice to see Breakker back on TV, as he'd been missing for weeks after winning the title back from Jey Uso, but he will have a tall order defending against Sheamus. We've got news from New Japan's Fighting Spirit event, where Hazuki became the #1 contender for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Hazuki triumphed in four-way action against Trish Adora, Anna Jay, and Koguma in Lowell, Massachusetts, with Hazuki getting the pin on Adora after a well-executed cradle. Hazuki's night wasn't over, though, as Mercedes Moné made a surprise appearance at the show to the delight of the crowd, eager to see her confront her challenger. Moné wasted no time in hyping up their championship match, which is set to take place at NJPW Strong Style Evolved in December, and acknowledged Hazuki's impressive win. Mercedes added that stepping into the ring with her would be an entirely different challenge, but Hazuki grabbed the mic to declare that the Strong Women's title was rightfully hers. Tensions boiled over as the two women exchanged blows, culminating with Mercedes dropping Hazuki with a backstabber before the CEO taunted the live crowd with a dance. Moné left the ring, leaving a fired-up Hazuki in her wake, and fans can expect an electrifying encounter at Strong Style Evolved to determine the rightful champion. Are you excited to see Hazuki and Mercedes Moné face off at Strong Style Evolved? Who do you think will come out on top? Share your predictions and thoughts below. And we're ending with more from Fighting Spirit, as Jack Perry made an unannounced appearance, attacking Yota Tsuji during the show. The attack came after Tsuji and Shingo Takagi scored a victory over the Undisputed Kingdom, and Perry would challenge the laid-out Tsuji to a match at Wrestle Dynasty on January 5th. Perry already holds the AEW TNT title and is ready to expand his presence into New Japan, and we'll have to see if Tsuji answers the challenge made to him this week.